There's a single moment between the last breath and the first step into the unknown, where everything you believed about the afterlife completely falls apart. Are you prepared to discover what really happens to the souls who have chosen the path of darkness? I am someone who has spent decades diving into the deepest mysteries of existence, studying ancient texts that most people have never had access to, meditating in sacred temples where ancient secrets are whispered only to those ready to listen. And today I'm going to share with you a truth that could completely transform your understanding of the fate of souls. If you're ready for this journey, hit that like button now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because what you're about to discover isn't shared anywhere else. Comment "I'm ready" if you truly want to understand the mysteries I'm revealing. But before we continue, I need to warn you. What I'm about to reveal may shake your deepest convictions. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to carry a darkness so intense it's almost palpable? Why do certain souls persistently choose the path of cruelty, manipulation, hatred? And more importantly, what happens to these souls when they finally cross the veil? For over 20 years, I've dedicated myself to studying the spiritual planes, investigating accounts of near-death experiences, analyzing sacred texts from different traditions, and developing a unique understanding of the processes that govern the soul's journey after death. I'm not just a theoretical scholar. I'm someone who has directly experienced altered states of consciousness, who has had visions of the astral planes, who has spoken with spiritual entities, and who has developed a keen perception of the laws that govern the spiritual universe. What sets me apart from other spiritual teachers is my willingness to talk about the darker aspects of the soul's journey, those topics that many hesitate to address out of fear, ignorance, or a false idea that we should only focus on the light. But the truth is, to fully understand the spectrum of spiritual existence, we must face both the light and the darkness. Over these years, I've had access to teachings from Tibetan masters, Amazonian shamans, Sufi mystics, and guardians of esoteric traditions, who rarely share their knowledge with the outside world. I've participated in rites of passage, purification ceremonies, and practices of communication with other dimensions that have given me a unique perspective on what really happens when we leave the physical body. And it was through these experiences that I discovered a disturbing truth. Not all souls follow the same path after death. There is a complex dynamic, a series of processes that determine the fate of each soul based not only on its actions, but on the vibrational frequency it cultivated during its earthly existence. Now, prepare yourself for information that most people will never have access to. What I'm about to reveal isn't found in popular spirituality books. It's not taught in weekend workshops, nor is it casually shared in conversations about the afterlife. These are truths that have been carefully preserved by secret spiritual lineages, passed down only to those deemed ready to handle such powerful knowledge. There are three main categories of souls that face unique challenges after death, and one of them is so disturbing that many spiritual masters prefer not to even mention its existence. I'm talking about the souls I call umbral souls, those that have become so identified with darkness that they have almost completely lost their connection to the divine light. You might be wondering, but how is that possible? Aren't we all children of the light? And that's exactly the illusion that needs to be shattered. While it's true that all souls originate from the same divine source, free will allows a soul to make choices that progressively distance it from its original nature. It's like a musician who, over decades, detunes their instrument until it can no longer produce harmony. The process doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual trajectory of conscious choices, choices to cause pain instead of healing, to manipulate instead of serving, to destroy instead of creating. Each dark choice creates an energetic mark on the soul, a kind of imprint that accumulates over time. And when these imprints become dominant, the soul enters such a low vibrational frequency that it can no longer access the higher planes of existence. But here's the secret that few know. There is a specific plane, a dimension created especially to deal with these souls. A place that is neither punishment nor reward, but rather a kind of cosmic hospital where intense purification processes take place. And what happens in these places? Well, it goes beyond any description you've ever heard about hell or purgatory. When an umbral soul leaves the physical body, it doesn't experience the famous white light, nor is it received by loved ones or spiritual guides. Instead, it finds the void, a void that isn't absence, but presents, the presence of everything it denied, suppressed, and rejected during its earthly journey. Imagine for a moment that you're looking into a mirror, but instead of seeing your physical reflection, you see every dark thought you've ever had, every cruel word you've ever spoken, every action that caused unnecessary suffering. But it's not just a visualization, it's a total experience, where you feel the impact of each of these choices as if you were living them for the first time. This is just the first phase of what I call the spiritual confrontation process. The umbral soul is then led by forces that are not demonic. That's another illusion that needs to be shattered, but are aspects of its own consciousness that have taken on an autonomous form. It's as if all the parts of itself that it rejected during life come alive and become its companions on the post-mortem journey. And this is where the situation becomes truly intense. The soul realizes it can no longer lie to itself. All the justifications, all the rationalizations, all the defense mechanisms it used during its earthly life simply don't work anymore. It sees itself exactly as it is, without filters, without disguises, without the ability to deny or minimize its choices. But that's just the beginning. Because after this initial confrontation, the soul is taken to what ancient texts call the chambers of purification, dimensional spaces, where it must literally relive every moment of suffering it caused, but this time from the perspective of its victims. Can you imagine the intensity of this experience? It's not a vague memory or an intellectual reflection. It's a complete experience where the soul feels in its own consciousness every tear it caused, every heart it broke, every hope it destroyed. And there's no escape, no way to skip parts of this experience. It must go through every single moment, viscerally understanding the impact of its actions. And just when you think that's the most a soul can endure, we discover there are even deeper levels to this journey of purification. Levels that challenge our understanding of what's possible to experience in non-physical states of consciousness. Close your eyes for a moment and try to imagine this. You're suspended in a space that has no physical dimensions, but where every emotion you've ever felt materializes as a tangible force around you. Now imagine you can literally feel the weight of every lie you told, the rough texture of every betrayal you committed, the bitter taste of every moment you chose hatred over love. This is exactly what happens in the chambers of purification. The soul doesn't just remember its actions, it experiences them through all its spiritual senses in a way that transcends any physical experience we've ever had. It's as if every cell of consciousness is permeated by the pure essence of the consequences of its choices. Witnesses of near-death experiences who have had glimpses of these states describe sensations that our human language can barely capture. One told me, it was like being turned inside out, but remaining fully conscious throughout the process. I could feel every fiber of my being examined, every thought being weighed, every intention being measured. Another reported, there was a sound. It wasn't exactly a sound, but a vibration that went through my entire being. It was the echo of every cruel word I had spoken, reverberating endlessly through dimensions I didn't even know existed. And at the same time, I could see, but not. With my eyes, I could see the propagation of each negative action through a cosmic web of connections. The umbral soul experiences what ancient texts call the great inversion, where everything it thought was true about itself, about power, about control, about superiority, is completely inverted. It discovers that every attempt to dominate others was, in fact, a way of enslaving itself. Every act of cruelty was a spiritual self-harm. Every moment of hatred was a poison it forced its own soul to drink. And here's the most disturbing aspect. It remains fully conscious throughout this entire process. There is no mercy of forgetfulness, no comfort of unconsciousness. Every revelation is crystal clear. Every understanding is absolute. Every feeling is amplified beyond anything we experience on the physical plane. Now I need to introduce you to concepts that don't exist in conventional spiritual teachings. because we're entering territories that have only been mapped by very advanced consciousness explorers. I'm going to talk about the umbral zones, specific regions of the astral plane where the laws of inverse resonance operate. Unlike what many believe, the spiritual universe isn't governed solely by love and light. There are complex cosmic laws that regulate what happens when a consciousness strays so far from its original nature that it needs to undergo fundamental rebalancing processes. The umbral zones are like cosmic laboratories where these laws manifest in their most intense form. Each umbral soul is assigned to a specific zone based on what I call the spiritual dissonance index, a measurement of the vibrational distance between the soul's current frequency and its original divine frequency. The greater the dissonance, the deeper the zone the soul is directed to. In the first zone, known as the mirror of truth, the soul encounters what I call the shadow spiritual companion, not an external demon, but the materialization of all the denied aspects of itself. This companion isn't there to punish, but to teach through direct confrontation. It's like having a teacher who knows every one of your darkest secrets and insists on discussing them openly. In the second zone, the chambers of emotional echo, the soul experiences what I call inverse empathic multiplication. Here, it not only feels the suffering it caused, but it experiences that suffering multiplied by the number of people who were affected by the consequences of its actions. If one of its lies led 5 people to suffer, it feels that suffering amplified 5 times. The third zone is known as the Valley of Forced Reconstruction, where the soul must literally rebuild its energetic structure cell by cell, memory by memory, choice by choice. Imagine having to completely dismantle your personality and then rebuild it, but this time with full awareness of every decision you're making. And then there's the fourth zone. The outer darkness, a place so intense that even highly evolved souls hesitate to speak of it. Here, the soul experiences what I call total cosmic isolation, where it finds itself completely separated from any source of light or love, forced to confront the reality of who it has become without any external support. But here's something crucial that needs to be understood. None of these processes are eternal, and this is the fundamental difference between true esoteric teachings and popular descriptions of hell or eternal damnation. As intense as these processes are, they have a restorative purpose, not a punitive one. There's a cosmic law I call the law of inevitable return, which states that every consciousness, no matter how far it has strayed from its original nature, will eventually find its way back to the source. The universe is fundamentally a self-correcting system, and these intense processes are part of that self-correction. During my research, I discovered accounts of souls that completed these purification journeys and emerged transformed in extraordinary ways. A common feature of these accounts is that these souls develop a compassion and wisdom that transcends even that of souls who never strayed from the path of light. It's as if the journey through the deepest darkness has equipped them with a unique understanding of the extremes of conscious experience. There's a phenomenon I witnessed during altered states of consciousness that I call spiritual polarity inversion. At a certain point in the journey in the umbral zones, something extraordinary happens. The soul begins to realize that the full intensity of the suffering it's experiencing is exactly proportional to the intensity of light it's capable of manifesting once it completes the process. It's as if the universe is saying, "You chose to explore the extremes of darkness, so now you must fully understand these extremes so that you can also access the opposite extremes of light." The depth of the fall determines the height of the subsequent flight. And here's something that will surprise you. Many of these souls, after completing their purification journeys, voluntarily choose to return to serve as guides for other souls going through the same processes. They become what I call guardians of dark transformation. Beings who are experts in helping other consciousnesses navigate the most challenging aspects of spiritual evolution. But perhaps the most hopeful aspect of all this is the discovery that there's a cosmic rhythm, a universal pulse that I call the heartbeat of the cosmos, which constantly sends waves of renewing energy through all dimensions. Even in the deepest umbral zones, this heartbeat eventually reaches every soul, offering moments of relief, clarity, and renewed hope. So as terrifying as this journey may seem, it's also a testament to the infinite mercy of the universe, a mercy that isn't permissive but transformative, a mercy that doesn't ignore the consequences of choices, but offers paths to redemption through complete understanding. Now stop for a moment and ask yourself an honest question. How many times today did you choose to respond with irritation instead of patience? How many times this week did you allow thoughts of judgment, envy, or resentment to dominate your mind? How many times in the last month did you act out of ego instead of genuine love? I'm not asking these questions to judge you. I'm asking because every one of these seemingly small choices is literally shaping the destiny of your soul. And here's a truth that will shock you. There is no clear line separating good souls from umbral souls. There is a spectrum, a subtle gradation, and we are all constantly moving along that spectrum based on our daily choices. You might be thinking, but I'm not a bad person. I haven't committed terrible crimes. And this is exactly where the danger of spiritual illusion lies. The umbral souls I studied didn't start their journeys by committing horrendous acts. They started just like you and me, making small concessions to darkness, justifying small acts of selfishness, allowing small resentments to grow in their hearts. The process is so gradual that it's almost imperceptible. It's like a person who gradually loses their hearing. They don't notice the problem until the loss becomes severe. Likewise, a soul can lose its connection to the light so subtly that it doesn't even realize what's happening until it finds itself in a very low vibration. Let me share a specific case I studied. A soul I encountered during an astral projection had been, in life, a seemingly normal person. She had a family, a job, friends, but over decades, she cultivated a specific pattern. Whenever someone disagreed with her, she held a grudge. She never exploded, never yelled, but internally she began to nurture a silent hatred against everyone who didn't meet her expectations. This hatred crystallized in her soul like a dense, energetic formation. Every time she chose to feed these feelings instead of forgiving, the formation grew. Every time she chose to judge instead of understanding, the darkness expanded. Until, when she died, she discovered she had created an energetic prison around her own consciousness. Here's what's most disturbing. She wasn't aware of what she was doing during her life. To her, these were just normal feelings. She considered herself a good person because she had never physically hurt anyone. But energetically, she had become toxic to everyone around her, sucking their life force through her emanations of constant resentment. And now, the question that will make you reflect deeply. What kind of energetic emanations are you producing daily? When people leave your presence, do they feel more uplifted or heavier? Do your words heal or wound? Are your thoughts about others nourishing or toxic? Because here is a cosmic law that cannot be bypassed. You are constantly co-creating your post-mortem destiny through every thought, every word, every action, every emotional choice you make. It's not a judgment that comes from outside. It's a natural consequence of the vibrational frequency you cultivate. If you are constantly emanating criticism, your soul gets used to vibrating at the frequency of criticism. If you are always looking for what's wrong in situations, your consciousness aligns with the vibration of negativity. And when you leave the physical body, your soul will naturally gravitate towards dimensions that resonate with these frequencies. The good news is that you have full control over this. Every moment is a new opportunity to choose a higher vibration. Every interaction is a chance to emanate love instead of judgment. Every thought is an opportunity to align with the light instead of turning away from it. But the responsibility is entirely yours. No one can make these choices for you. No ritual, no prayer, no belief can replace the conscious choices you make moment by moment about who you choose to be. What I'm about to reveal may deeply disturb you, but the truth about what happens to souls that complete the purification processes must be shared. Because there's a phenomenon I discovered in my research that challenges everything we think we know about reincarnation, karma, and spiritual evolution. Some souls that go through the most intense processes of the umbral zones emerge with spiritual capacities so advanced that they completely transcend the need to reincarnate on Earth. But here's what will shock you. Many of them choose to return anyway, and when they do, They are born into circumstances that place them directly in the path of other souls who are beginning to stray from the light. It's as if they become cosmic experts in recognizing the first signs of spiritual decline in other souls. They can sense when someone is starting to feed thought patterns that will eventually lead to the umbral zones, and their mission becomes to intercept these souls before it's too late. But here's where the situation gets truly mysterious. These returned souls often have no conscious memory of their experiences in the umbral zones. They simply possess a supernatural intuition about the nature of human darkness and an extraordinary ability to help people who are struggling with their shadow aspects. You've probably already met one of these souls without realizing it. They are those people who seem able to see through your masks, who can tell when you're struggling internally, even when you're trying to look fine on the outside. They are people who have an almost infinite tolerance for human weaknesses, but a keen perception of when those weaknesses are turning into something more dangerous. During one of my experiences communicating with higher planes, I was introduced to an entity who identified herself as a former umbral soul. She revealed something to me that completely changed my understanding of the cosmic system of balance. She said, "The souls that go deepest into the darkness are often those with the greatest potential for light. The universe allows these extreme journeys because it knows they will produce the most powerful healers. This means that some of the most compassionate, wisest people, most capable of helping others overcome their inner darkness, may be souls who have already experienced the depths of spiritual darkness. They aren't superior souls who never failed. They are souls who failed so profoundly that they were forced to completely understand the nature of spiritual failure. And here's a revelation that might change your perspective on your own struggles. If you're watching this video, if you're genuinely interested in understanding these deep mysteries of existence, there's a high probability that you yourself are one of these returned souls. Your curiosity about these topics is not accidental. It could be an echo of knowledge your soul acquired in previous journeys through spiritual territories your conscious mind can't access. But here's what's even more extraordinary. There is a process of umbral memory awakening that can be initiated through specific practices. Souls who have gone through these experiences can begin to recover fragments of their journeys through the umbral zones, not in a traumatic way, but in a way that helps them access the wisdom they gained through those experiences. And this brings us to the most intriguing aspect of all. There is an ancient prophecy that speaks of a period in human history when many of these returned souls would awaken simultaneously to their true identities. A time when Earth would need healers specialized in transforming darkness into light, because humanity as a whole would be facing a deep spiritual crisis. Could we be living in that prophesied time? Could the rise in interest in spirituality, the growing number of people seeking deeper meaning, the epidemic of depression and anxiety we are experiencing, all be signs that this prophecy is being fulfilled? If these revelations have awakened something deep within you, if you feel a strange resonance with these concepts, if a part of you recognizes these truths in a way that goes beyond intellectual understanding, then don't let this moment pass you by. You may be on the threshold of an awakening that will change not only your understanding of spirituality, but your entire life's mission. I want you to do something right now. Close your eyes for a moment and ask your soul, have I been to the umbral zones? Have I experienced these purification processes? Did I return with a specific mission? And then notice what kind of sensations arise in your body, what kinds of images appear in your mind, what kinds of emotions move in your heart. Don't dismiss these sensations as imagination. Your intuition may be trying to communicate truths to you that your rational mind can't process. And if you feel you might be one of these returned souls, you have a cosmic responsibility to develop and use your gifts to help others who are struggling with their shadow aspects. What I'm about to reveal now is information I've never shared publicly before. There is a specific method I've developed over years of research that can help returned souls access their memories safely and integrate the wisdom they gained on their journeys through the umbral zones. It's a process I call cosmic shadow integration. But this method isn't for everyone. It only works for people who are genuinely ready to face aspects of themselves that may be disturbing. People who have the courage to look at their own darkness, not with judgment, but with compassion. People who are willing to use their worst moments as catalysts for their greatest evolution. If you feel you are ready for this journey, if you want to learn more about these processes, and perhaps discover your true spiritual identity, leave a comment saying, "I'm ready for the whole truth." And if at least 100 people show this genuine interest, I will create a special video revealing the methods of cosmic shadow integration. But remember, knowledge without application is just intellectual entertainment. If this information has resonated with you, your responsibility now is to use this knowledge to become a force for positive transformation in the world. Watch your thoughts more carefully. Choose your words with more consciousness. Treat every interaction as an opportunity to emanate light instead of darkness. Because in the end, we are all constantly choosing our spiritual destiny through thousands of daily micro-decisions. The difference between a soul that ascends and a soul that descends isn't in the big dramatic decisions, but in the small choices we make when no one is watching. The soul's journey is simultaneously the most individual and the most collective thing there is. Your evolution affects everyone's evolution. Your light contributes to the light of the world, and your darkness, well, now you know exactly where darkness can lead. Subscribe to the channel and hit that like button to get access to more stories like this one. The choice, as always, is yours. But now, at least, you're making that choice with full knowledge of the consequences. If this content has transformed your perspective on spirituality and the soul's destiny, share it with people you feel are ready for these truths. Together, we can create a network of awakened souls working to raise planetary consciousness, one person at a time.